Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome into the Thursday, otherwise known as Friday Eve edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRN Radio. That's right. I'm working on some new camera angles. I have a new camera coming in, so I'm trying to get the close-up shot squared away, so then I can move the old camera back out to do the far up, but the wide shots, if you will. I try to avoid that word because I'm fat, but it is what it is. For like show openings and stuff. So for today, we're using close-up camera only because I don't have the second camera yet. I've been working on getting it set up all morning, so I think it's going to work well enough for today. And honestly, I'm kind of tired of any time I go on anybody else's show, they're like, "We can't see you. The name is covering your face." Blah 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 blah. Oh, it's not noon yet, sir. We live in God's time zone. It's only 11 here. Don't rush me. Don't rush me. Anyway, hang on. For some reason, the chat is starting to cut things off with X. So, you're asking if anybody else has shared or pimped the show yet. I haven't even done it yet. You're ahead of me. Anyway, dude, I am sleep deprived. I was running boards till like 2:30 in the morning, and then have been up since 7. And thanks to Mother Nature's bipolar BS, I've got the man cold yet again. I'm like, all this stuff's supposed to be viral, so I figured eventually I would just, finally be able to kick it and it would be gone. Yeah, no, it's here. It's here again. Honestly, I think some of it is allergies because the drastic weather changes has my cedar trees having an orgy in my backyard. So I have Benadryl being delivered to the house as we speak so that hopefully I can start breathing again today. But man, we have so much to talk about, so little time. I hope you guys brought popcorn. Dude, the left is having a fit. So if you haven't noticed, and I think it has a lot to do with all their cash cows being led to slaughter, the movements, the protest movements, and all the things that used to look so well organized and crazy, and like it was this giant group of the will of the people, now look like, I don't even know how to describe it. I really don't. I had this grand idea of what I was going to say. My brain was like, yeah, we're not. Yeah, you forgot it. For those of you who know me, you know how rare that is. which is why I seem a little discombobulated right now. But no, it's just funny because, used to when they got everything together, they had all this secret crowdfunding stuff going on, and they had all the Act Blue money, and they had all these different things going on, and all these cash reserves they could get into. So they had these agitatrope groups that they would basically set all these protests up within a certain area, and then they would bust them from protest to protest. And on the way to the protest, they would be changing out whatever shirts they needed to fit in like they were part of the organic group. And, for those of you that have been following along for a while, Stacy and I used to talk about this all the time on first the Kung Fu Spew and then the Daily Dose when we were doing a morning show until I got buried because we kept trying to tell people the truth about COVID. And for a time, the truth was frowned upon in these particular establishments. Speaking of these particular establishments, wherever you happen to be finding us from, whether it is X, YouTube, Rumble, which is less frowny about the truth, but still has its moments, or Facebook, or klrradio.com, or even at some point when I finally get around to doing all the catch-up work on your favorite podcatchers, because here's the thing. We used to use Spreaker, and I loved Spreaker because even on a setup like this, I could just go and hit the button, and it would broadcast live from a different board, different setup while I was doing the video feeds here. And then they took that away. And then I discovered that honestly, the audio feed from here sounds cleaner anyway. So I started going through and manually posting all of them. Pardon me. But since I do like 1 million podcasts a week and have been fighting this perpetual man plague, it's kind of hard to do. Anyway, so shall we get started? Shall we officially get started? First things first. Speaking of leftists that don't know what to do and are really confused, there's this guy. Bernie Sanders is having a meltdown. Instead of hearing me try to read about it and cough through it, though, let's hear it in his own words.
I do not often find myself in the habit of thanking Elon Musk, but I must confess that he has done an exceptional job of demonstrating a point that a few of us have been making for years, and that is the reality that we live in an oligarchic society in which billionaires dominate not only our politics and the information we consume from media, but our government and economic lives as well. That has never been clearer than it is today. But given the news and attention Mr. Musk has been getting over the last few weeks as he illegally and unconstitutionally dismantles government agencies, I think it is an appropriate time to ask the question that the media and most politicians don't seem to be asking. What do he and other multi-billionaires really want? What is their end game? In my opinion, what Musk and those around him are aggressively striving for is not novel, it is not complicated, and it is not new. It is what ruling classes throughout history have always wanted and have always believed is theirs by right. More power, more control, and more wealth. And they don't want ordinary people, that's you, and democracy getting in their way. They want it all. Elon Musk and his fellow oligarchs believe government and laws are simply an impediment to their interests and what they are entitled to. In pre-revolutionary America, before the 1770s, the ruling class governed through a doctrine called the divine rights of kings. The belief that the King of England was an agent of God and he was not to be questioned by mere mortals. In modern times, we no longer have the divine right of kings. What we now have is an ideology being pushed by the oligarchs, which says that as very, very wealthy people, often self-made, often as the masters of revolutionary new technology, it is their absolute right to rule. In other words, these modern-day oligarchs are our kings. And it is not just power, it's incredible wealth that they have. Today, Mr. Musk is worth $402 billion. Zuckerberg is worth $252 billion. Bezos is worth $249 billion. With combined wealth of over $900 billion, these three people 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Not surprisingly, since Trump was elected, their wealth has soared. Musk has become $138 billion richer. Zuckerberg has become $49 billion richer. And Bezos has become $28 billion richer, all since Election Day. Meanwhile, while the very rich become much richer, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paychecks. 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. 25% of seniors are trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less. 800,000 are homeless, and we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Do you think for 1 second that the oligarchs give a damn about working people? Trust me, they don't. Musk's decision to dismember USAID means that tens of thousands of the poorest people around the world will go hungry or die of preventable diseases. But it's not just abroad. Here in the United States, they will soon be going after the healthcare, nutrition, housing, and educational programs that protect the most vulnerable people in our country, all so that Congress can provide huge tax breaks for them and their fellow billionaires. As modern-day kings who believe they have the absolute right to rule, they will sacrifice without hesitation.
All right, hang on. We're gonna break in for a second here. All right, let me make sure I'm actually sort of kind of looking at you guys. Sorry, I'm used to the old angle. I thought this would work better since I spend almost all my time staring at the screen. I don't really know if it's gonna work better for me though. So this may have been an exercise that goes back before tomorrow, because I'll be off the rest of the day after this. But I'm gonna say this though. Let me just say this. Let me explain it to you like I'm 5, because I don't want to insult you. When Bernie Sanders is saying all these things that he's saying, I need you to understand that he's projecting. He's not telling you what he's afraid the right is going to do. He's telling you what the left has always done. This is why they're afraid. They have been able to demonize the right. And I'm not, look, before you start screaming and yelling, I'm not letting the right off the hook here either. I'm really not. What I'm saying is, and what I have always said is, sorry, I realized my leaning back in my chair doesn't really work, because then you can't hear me on the mic. So yeah, this may actually drive me crazy today. But it was an experiment. It was an experiment. I think what will eventually happen is when I get the second camera, I'll probably be on the wide shot most of the time until I'm reading something, or unless I'm guesting on somebody else's show. But if I'm guesting on somebody else's show, I think I'm going to put the camera in front of me. Oh, but then that doesn't really work, because then I spend half the time staring at the screen anyway. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud and I'm sleep deprived, so don't mind me. But back to Bernie Sanders. The left is projecting. They're telling you what they've always done. They are the ones that feel that they have the divine right to lead as kings. And I'm not saying a lot of people on the right don't agree with them either, but I'm telling you right now, Elon Musk already has $400 billion. That's billion with a B. I'm pretty sure if he wanted our money, he could already take it. Everybody forgets that he was one of the primary investors in things like PayPal. Most of America has given him credit card information to get a blue check on X. If this is what he was going to do, he would have been able to do it in other ways and never have gotten caught. The scariest thing about all this, and I keep seeing this from the left, is everybody's like, well, what about all the waste, fraud, and abuse that happened under the Trump administration? Oh, you mean when the Treasury Department was just rubber stamping payments that went out? You think the president at that time was going through and double checking all the rubber stamps from Treasury? No, because he was told not to. He wanted to look at these things in his first term. The people that he trusted told him, no, don't worry about it. You know why? Because most of them are getting kickbacks. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it out loud. I will add the word allegedly so somebody doesn't sue the pants off of me, but I'm willing to bet to with you today that everybody that's screaming and yelling about everything that's going on with these cash cows that are being led to slaughter, we're getting some sort of a kickback from somewhere. Whether it was their lobbyists that were getting money back that was then eventually being funneled to them in restaurants and trips and everything else, or if they were getting some sort of direct payment off of it. Again, just to go back to how ludicrous some of this is. Somebody that had a 90-day contract with the federal government was able to get paid for 20 years and supposedly nobody noticed. I want that gig. You know, one of the things that I thought was absolutely amazing when I heard about it yesterday was there was somebody that was paid, there was a group that was paid $1.5 million to monitor mail flow. They didn't have to touch it. They didn't have to sort it. They just had to watch it come in and watch it go out. And they got paid $1.5 million. Where do I sign up for that job? You guys realize if they just rotated me and you through on those kind of jobs on one annual basis, they wouldn't have anything to worry about anymore because we'd all be millionaires and be able to retire. But here's the dirty little secret. This is something that's terrified me, and I've been digging into it a little bit more because I've been starting to hear some rumblings. You know, I've been pretty happy about the new Treasury Secretary wanting to put us back on something tangible like the gold standard. The problem is, I don't think it's going to work. We'll get to that on the other side of the break because we're going to play a clip. We're going to play this clip first because this is kind of a tease to what I'm going to be talking about. And Orty brought this up last night, and I had no idea what he was talking about, so I found the clip. So here we go. Hang on. Let me get it queued up. Make sure you guys can see it. One moment, please. And we're going back full screen just for the moment.
Hi, this is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. One of my very top priorities at EPA is to be an excellent steward of your hard-earned tax dollars. There will be zero tolerance of any waste and abuse. An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to them and to the American people, which I reiterated at my confirmation hearing that if confirmed, I would immediately get a full accounting. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposely designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency. Just under $7 billion was sent to one entity called the Climate United Fund. I'm sure you and I now have some of the same questions. How do these organizations decide how to allocate funding? How much money have they given out so far and to whom? Are there any former Biden EPA staffers who are now working at these entities? Let me make one thing abundantly clear. At this point, there is zero reason to suspect any wrongdoing by the bank. Here's my position as EPA administrator. The financial agent agreement with the bank needs to be instantly terminated, and the bank must immediately return all of the gold bars that the Biden administration tossed off the Titanic. EPA needs to reassume responsibility for all of these funds. We will review every penny that has gone out the door. I will be referring this matter to the Inspector General's office, and will work with the Justice Department as well. The days of irresponsibly shoveling boatloads of cash to far-left activist groups in the name of environmental justice and climate equity are over. The American public deserves a more transparent and accountable government than what transpired these past 4 years. We take our obligations under the law as seriously as it gets. I've directed my team to find your gold bars, and they found them. Now we will get them back inside of control of government as we pursue next steps. As President Trump has vowed, we are going to usher in a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
You sure it's showing it's playing on my side? Anyway, I'll play it again. Hang on.
Hi, this is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. One of my very top priorities at EPA is to be an excellent steward of your hard-earned tax dollars. There will be zero tolerance of any waste and abuse. An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it.
Tossing gold.
Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to.
I'm not playing it again all the way through because that was on your side, brother. I just checked it. You used to work tech support. You should know how this works. When something starts working weird, first thing you do is check your own side. Just saying. Because, yeah, I just checked it. It was coming through fine both times. Anyway, so we're going to keep moving here because I got to take a break in a second anyway. But we're going to get into what some of my fears are about tangible assets. Because there's been some things that I don't think you guys have heard about yet. Because I don't think anybody wanted you to know. But just to give you a tease, and then we'll come back and talk about the rest of it. If you own your house, pay it off as soon as you can. Because there's a good chance that your house has been sold off by your bank in a bulk package to several other banks that are listing your house as a tangible asset. And each of the banks, no matter how many times it's been sold off, is listing 100% ownership. That's a tease for what we're talking about on the other side of the break. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. We're about halfway through hour one. Hour 2 and 3 still to come, and segment two of hour one on the other side of this break. And it is almost Friday for those of you working towards the weekend. We're gonna have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
Yeah. An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow.
It's been an actual nightmare.
To oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez. Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Right in. Whoa. I'm breaking in, shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is in the apocalypse. Whoa. I'm waking up. I'm getting in my bones. Don't make my system blow. Welcome to the new age. To the new age. Welcome to the new age. To the new age.
Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the Friday Eve edition of the Rick Robinson Show is underway. I want to thank everybody who's taken the time to funnel into the chats and to the streams and all of the aboves. And thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us. We had a phenomenal night last night. If you're wondering why I sound so tired, one, I seem to have the man plague yet again. Two, I was pushing buttons and running boards until like 2:30 in the morning, and now I've been up since 7 getting ready to do this. Because, for anybody who thinks, oh, I want to start a podcast, it'll be fun and it's easy. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Okay, look, some podcasts might be like, if you have like an idea to start a podcast about your favorite hobby that you eat, sleep, and breathe, sure, go ahead and do that. My problem is my hobby was always politics. I was a social science nerd all the way through high school and college. As a matter of fact, we had to have 13 social science credits to graduate high school in 1992. I had 26. Yes, I am a nerd. I freely admit this fact, but I have parlayed my nerdness into semi being somewhat well known and making a little bit of money. So I guess that counts. But anyway, so for everyone who was expecting to see us at CPAC this year, it will not be happening. Not because we didn't get approved. We actually did this time, but I have sent an email with my regrets, letting them know, one, I don't know, because I know the flu is going crazy in Oklahoma. I don't know what things are like on the East Coast. But two, they're expecting like 3 to 4 inches of snow on that Thursday, and I'm not getting trapped in DC. It's not going to happen. Plus, I have to admit, I'm a little nervous about flying. I think I'm going to reach out via email though and be like, is there any way that we can get those converted to the CPAC in Dallas, assuming you guys are doing that again this summer? Because that would be awesome. That's like a 3-hour drive for me instead of a 5-hour flight. Anyway, I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, so I don't think anybody from my crew is planning on going to CPAC this year. A lot of my regulars who usually try to do it have started new gigs, so they're like, we can't take off right now. And whatever. But yeah, so on with the show because there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Again, wait, hang on, I got to see this. I haven't seen Ann Coulter do a guest column on Town Hall in a while. I'm not a huge Ann Coulter fan. Some of you may remember that I usually call her Skeletor. She's kind of become the Whitney Houston of politics for me. But anyway, so let's give this a quick skim. Democrats, those stalwart champions of democracy who tried to keep Donald Trump off the ballot, have an endlessly malleable understanding of whose view prevails whenever disputes arise between any combination of Congress, the courts, the president, and the states. It's almost as if they decide based not on any fixed principle, but on whose side they want to take. When Joe Biden was president, he openly defied Supreme Court rulings and bragged about doing so. In a few cases, they even openly bragged about potentially defying federal court rulings. It wasn't just the Supreme Court. So, despite the court repeatedly telling him he had no authority to forgive student loans, he kept doing it. The Supreme Court blocked it, he said, but that didn't stop me. Nobody on the left complained about that, though. When Barack Obama was president, federal control of immigration was absolute. Arizona was said to be prohibited from following federal law because the president had decided not to follow the law. Suddenly, every Democrat was talking about the supremacy clause and claiming Arizona had been overtaken by Nazis. Eventually, the Supreme Court upheld Arizona's so-called Papers, Please law, and the hysterics confident that no one would remember their smug assurances that the law was unconstitutional went right back to uttering their weighty pronouncements. But when Trump was abiding by federal law in issuing what the liberals called the Muslim ban, that oddly enough never actually mentioned Muslims, district courts and Trump's own acting attorney general decided that their interpretation of a president's duties should prevail over his. They were heroes. At least until the Supreme Court upheld Trump's non-Muslim mentioning Muslim ban. It seems that, contra every editorial page in America, federal law expressly grants the president the authority to exclude aliens if, in his opinion, their presence would be detrimental to the interest of the United States. Whereupon everyone who'd screamed that we were living through a constitutional crisis, sound familiar, defined as anything Democrats dislike, authoritarianism, absolute tyranny, and Trump's immigration ban is illegal, a New York Times headline pretended not to notice the decision, and again, never spoke of it. Now, here we go again. The Constitution vests the executive power exclusively in one man. You may know him as the President of the United States, and directs him, among other things, to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. In order to faithfully execute the laws, he has to construe them. And there's nothing in the Constitution to suggest that a court's construal of the law takes precedence over the president's. The judiciary's role is to resolve disputes, not to declare whether the law is interpreting law is merely incidental to resolving disputes. just as it is incidental to the president faithfully executing the laws. Often, not always, someone has to have the final say, and most people simply assume the courts do. But in these cases, that's insane. For example, USAID itself was created by executive order. Well, she's only half right there. It was actually codified in 98 by Clinton. Because he saw a cash cow, and anytime there wasn't a cash cow he didn't like. But anyway, but in these, so the man who controls 100% of the executive branch is supposed to listen to dinky little district court judges who represent at most 0.05% of the judicial branch. Administering a program totally within the executive branch is simply not an exercise of judicial power, the only power the courts have. It bears mentioning that these lower court judges blocking Trump are constantly being overruled by the Supreme Court. This suggests they aren't even trying to interpret the law, but rather are interpreting the policy preferences of constitutional scholars like Sonny Hostin and Andy Cohen. This track record is another reason to give precedence to Trump's reading of the law. Liberals are especially bent out of shape that the man leading Trump's attack on ludicrous government expenditures is Elon Musk. In case you haven't heard, he is unelected. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because all right. So anyway, so we're here, we're live, we're going. I'm getting caught up in the chat. I guess I got chat people volunteering to have people go to CPAC for me now since none of us are going. I mean, the problem is the creds are in my name, so if he's already going, I can see if I can email somebody. But anyway, so we're here, we're live. I lost my entire train of thought, and it's not their fault. I can normally keep up with chat and everything else better, but I haven't slept. So yeah, back to what we were talking about here, I guess. Look, this is exactly what we're finding out. And the thing about it is, the Democrats are judge shopping. If you notice, they're only filing in places where they know the kind of rulings they're going to get. And then it keeps getting kicked up the chain and they keep losing. As a matter of fact, in case you missed the memo, a judge has already decided that the fork in the road can be chosen. In other words, we're back on track to see how many of these people we can kick out of the government. There's another judge who's come down the pipe with some of this stuff and said, hey, you know what? He actually does have the ability to control where some of this funding goes within certain circumstances. Now I found out that Congress is actually passing something that I had thought of a few days ago, and it looks like we were on the same page. Because, and I said this last night with Amish, when there's a drastic shift in power, when by the time an election is over, that the House and the Senate and the executive are all controlled by the same party, there needs to be the ability to put a pause on any last minute funding, otherwise known as midnight rule funding from the previous administration. And Congress is working on that now. And that only makes sense to me. And it should make sense to every single one of you. Now, I get it. When the pendulum swings back the other way, we're not going to be that happy about anything that they're able to put a pause on that our guy might have been able to do. But it would have stopped us from a lot of fucking headaches this round, because one of the reasons the economy's in as bad a shape as it is, and the left doesn't want to talk about this, is Biden knew either way he was done. He knew by what, August, that he was out? July, they did the debate, there was the shooting, and then he was done. And that was what, by July, early August, I think. I don't have the numbers I don't have the dates in front of me. But I say all of this to you because Biden knew he was done. He didn't care anymore. He started doing he already started setting things up because he was pretty sure he was going to lose even before he dropped out. But then by the time he dropped out, he didn't care. He's like, I'm not going to be in charge. I don't give a shit if I make her life harder. I'm definitely not going to make his life any easier. So the reason, and we knew this was coming, the media has been reporting about this for forever because they were applauding it at the time, and now suddenly they have amnesia. For 6 months, if not longer, places like the New York Times and all these places that turns out have been getting USAID money for God knows how long, we're telling you about all the roadblocks that the Biden administration was putting up for the next administration to make it harder for them to undo things, to make it harder for them to get their fiscal policies in place. And the media knew. They were applauding it. Because despite how much they wanted it to be Kamila Mahamaznik, I think a lot of people knew there was no way in hell it was going to be. It didn't stop them from wanting it to be that way. But when Biden was telling everybody why do you think Donald Trump came in like this first day he was in office and changed the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America? It wasn't just a troll. One, it is a masterful troll. But it undid every single thing that Joe Biden just tried to do to restrict drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, because it's not named that anymore. Congress can eventually come back in and have that stuff redone. And a future president, if we get another Democrat, can come back in and say, okay, now we're going to restrict drilling in the Gulf of America. And then we could be right back where we started from. But for the moment, this starts freeing up some of Donald Trump's energy plans. And I know I teased something before we went to break, and I'm going to get into it now. Well, actually, I talked about it a little bit. But what if I told you that the little thing that I teased a minute ago about your house technically belonging to God knows how many banks and all of them showing 100% ownership? What if I told you that was happening with things like gold and silver too? And look, I'm not telling you not to buy gold and silver. I'm telling you that if you do, you should buy gold and silver from somewhere that you trust. Because there are lots of folks that have figured out how to turn this stuff into a Ponzi scheme. And we're now finding that with all kinds of stuff, like with the money that is being printed, that if there was ever a run on our money and we all tried to get it out of our banks at the same time, there would be there would be not enough. The same thing is happening with tangible assets, because the truth of it is gold is finite, silver is finite. There's only a certain amount of it, but everybody's buying and selling it like crazy. So what happens is our gold is basically Britain's gold, is basically France's gold, and everybody says they own it. Because even the tangible stuff has basically become ones and zeros tied to stuff that's supposed to be in a vault somewhere. And it's being oversold just like everything else. Yeah, no big deal. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so I didn't mean for this to turn into a commercial, but one of the groups I do trust, if you are interested in diversifying your portfolio and getting yourself into some tangible assets, would be Genesis Gold Group. You can scan this little barcode right here, code KLRN at checkout, and if you do purchase anything, you get a nifty little discount. So yeah, go ahead, do that thing, do that thing you do. All right, let's see, what else can we get into here? All right, so let's see what else we got breaking news wise. Oh yeah, this is definitely something that I wanted to talk about. We touched on this a little bit last night, but it's making the rounds now in greater detail, so hang on. So remember how everybody was talking about, how insurrection-y January 6th was? So what if I told you the Democrats are actually inciting violence? Not very many people are going to tell you about it, though, because of course they don't want you to know that. This is from Red State, from our friend Ward Clark. Democrats inciting violence. California Congress critter calls for using actual weapons against Elon Musk. Dun, dun, dun. One can't help but notice that while politicians and political activists on the left are constantly, what is that? Okay, maybe is that a word I don't know? That's rare. Hang on, let me check something. Trying to see if this is a typo or if it's a word I don't know. I'm a language guy, so that kind of surprises me when that happens. So one moment, my brain has derailed. Whoa, it actually is a thing. It's like whining on steroids. So there's a word called whinge, WHINGE, and of course these there's winning, or I guess whinging. So it's continuous complaining. Very interesting. I learned a new word. Like I said, I'm a language guy, so that threw me off. So anyway, so one can't help but notice that while politicians and political activists on the left are constantly whinging on about political violence and denouncing violent rhetoric at every turn, they sure don't put their money where their constantly working mouths are. From Lee Harvey Oswald to modern times, the vast majority of political violence, actual violence, not a refusal to use preferred pronouns or wondering why people can't pay for their own sex reassignment surgeries, has come from the left. Here's yet another example, and from a sitting Congress critter, no less. Rep. Nancy Mace, Republican South Carolina, called out another Congress critter, Robert Garcia, Democrat California, on Thursday for calling for actual weapons to be used to stop Elon Musk and his efforts with the Department of Government Efficiency, or as the left calls it. Don't forget their new name for. They're still sticking with Doge, but it's the Department of Government Evil. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. Give me a second here. I knew you were going to do this to me, which is why I said give me a second. All right, so let's get this queued up because it's going to make me do extra work here. Because, of course, why wouldn't it? One moment, the fade over didn't work. Let me fix it.
I want to hear why, but do you think that calling Elon Musk a dick is effective messaging for confronting what is a potentially irreversible transformation of the U.S. government?
Well, he is a dick. And I think that he's also harming the American public in an enormous way. And what I think is really important, and what the American public want, is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight for democracy, for the future of this country. And it's important to push back on the chairperson of this committee. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about having decorum, about bipartisanship. This is the person that lies more than anybody else in the entire Congress. And so if she is going to make a mockery of hearings, I want to make sure that us as Democrats are bringing that same level of energy. And of course, after those comments, we went into exactly what Elon Musk is trying to do: dismantling the Department of Labor, dismantling the Department of Education, dismantling all of our consumer protection agencies. And so it's all important, but it's also important to get the attention of the American public and call Elon Musk out for what he is, and to make people know that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a serious legislator and she shouldn't be treated as such.
We should bring actual weapons to this fight. Now, as a conservative with a brain, I know what he was trying to say. But if this was on the other side of the aisle, they would be screaming and yelling and gnashing their teeth and talking about violent rhetoric and everything else. And you know what? It's time that we started treating them exactly the same way that they have always treated us. It's the only way anything is ever going to change. It is the only way anything is ever going to change, is if we start treating them the same way they've been treating us. And I know that's a hard thing to do. And I know that's a hard thing to hear, because we always try to be the Marquis of Queensberry folks. And I remember growing up, and I remember even as I started getting involved in politics in 92 and 93 and started figuring out exactly how things worked, and then kind of fell into the, going to build my life and figure it all out, and then came back to politics again in 2008, 2009. Look, it's really easy to sit back and say, well, it's okay if we lose as long as we lose by playing fair. That's what they've been counting on this entire time. And they figured out how to use that to their advantage. They being the communists. They being the people that actually don't give a shit about America. They don't give a shit about hanging on to their power. Every single thing they throw at Elon Musk, I need you to understand they are projecting from their own thoughts, their own fears, their own ideas onto him to make it appear as if he is the problem. Again, the dude has over $400 billion. If he wants the pittance that's in my checking account and wants to try to turn it into something else, hey, he can come get it. As long as I get it back when he's done with it, I don't really care. But this is the stuff that I'm talking about. They have convinced you that there is only one path to the American dream, and then they have figured out how to make money off of the backs of all of that every step of the way. And then they have taken that money and funneled it into projects that you would never agree to if you knew. This is one of the reasons why we've been screaming and yelling about these cramnibus bills that both sides have been doing. This is not a single party issue. Did it get a hell of a lot worse under Biden? Yes. Was it worse under Barack Obama? Sure it was. But it happened again under Trump. But again, it happened pretty much under every administration, because how long has Treasury just been rubber stamping payments? Nobody knew. Nobody checked. Nobody cared. Because as long as the wheels didn't come off the bus, nobody was complaining. And it's government money. It's not like we can't print more. How many times do you think that came up in conversation? Well, we could probably figure all this stuff out and fix it, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. Our grandkids are going to pay for it. Their grandkids are going to pay for it. And it's government. We can just print more money. You know what? I'm not letting any party off the hook. The thing that I find the most funny is listening to the Libertarian Party scream and yell about big government and how much apparently we need it now. As a libertarian, those are the ones that offend me. The libertarians should be cheering this right now. You know what? Some of the leftist podcasters right now have just said the same thing. They're like, we worked in government. We know how slow it is. We wanted to fix most of this shit, and we couldn't do it. Now we've got somebody trying to do it, and the people that learned it down are screaming about it. I think everybody forgets that one of the first people in recent history to start screaming about government efficiency was the father of climate change, the inventor of the interwebs, if you will. None other than Mr. Al Gore. Stood on a stage 30 some odd years ago telling everybody, well, a little less than 30, telling everybody how wasteful government was and how they were going to go in and they were going to fix it. Everybody forgets that even Barack Obama wanted to get rid of the troll farm known as the document mine, and threw money at it to try to figure out how to modernize it, and just wound up hiring more people to work it. We have a document mine. Worst part about it is it's not even a government facility. You know, we lease the space there. So somebody is making money off of us, and they're using a fucking mine that was been being used since the 50s to do it. You want to talk about government creating generational wealth? How much money is that group making off of the fucking federal government? Because you know they're charging not the normal rate. I mean, hell, I saw papers the other day coming out of Doge that there were departments paying $8,000 for bulk rates of coffee mugs. I got some bulk coffee mugs I can ship you for $8,000. Not really, because I don't want to bilk my federal government. But Jesus Christ, I mean, come on. $1.5 million to monitor mail, not to touch it, not to sort it, just to watch it come in and watch it go out. $1.5 million. And if you don't believe me, you can go look it up for yourself. They're putting the stuff they're finding out for everyone to see. All right, we're at the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to go juxtaposition for just a minute on the Thursday show. Those of you who don't know what that is, that's the every 2-week conspiratainment show I do with my good friend Ordnance J. Packard, which is up again this Saturday. But there's been some breaking news about JFK, and almost nobody's talking about it. Conspiracy theorists were right again. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. Hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 on the other side of the break. And hour 3 still to come. I know some of you are like, oh God, you do this for 3 hours? Yes, I do.
Your mom, hardest hit because I'm not behind Circle K.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Look what you made me do, look what I made for you. Knew if I paid my dues, how will they pay you? When you first come in the game, they try to play you. Then you drop a couple of hits, look how they wave to you. From Marcy to Madison Square, to the only thing that matters is just a matter of years. As fate would have it, J status appears to be at an all-time high. Perfect time to say goodbye. When I come back like Jordan, we're in the 4-5. It ain't to play games with you, it's to aim at you. Probably maim you. If I owe you, I'm blowing you to smithereens. Cocksucker, take one for your team. And I need you to remember one thing. I came, I saw, I conquered.
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 2 of the Thursday edition, otherwise known as the Friday Eve edition of the Rick Robinson Show, is live right here on KLRNradio.com. Just a reminder, we do this thing every Tuesday through Friday between the hours of noon and 3 Eastern. And hope you guys are having a good Thursday. I know some of you are like, it's almost the weekend. And some of you are like, oh, it's almost Valentine's Day. I'm going to say this right now. Fuck the Hallmark holiday with a Rusty Mace sideways. Never have been a fan. Don't really care if you are. Not judging. Saying, not my thing. All right. Anyway, so we're back. We're live. It's one of the reasons why I'm going on a date tonight instead of tomorrow, because I'm not giving everybody all the extra money they get from Valentine's Day bullshit. Anyway, so that being said, let's see what we have going on in the breaking news world. Anyway. Oh, so I have to admit, this actually did kind of leave a little, I mean, I understand it, but I have to admit, even this one's kind of something that I'm like going, is this really the look that we want? So this came across my feed last night. Trump administration set to purchase $400 million worth of armored Teslas. Now, I kind of get it, because European vehicle mandates are going to make it, for military vehicles and et cetera, they're going to have to be electric soon enough, even if we're trying to get away from it. So it kind of makes sense. But just to put the shoe on the other foot for a moment, could you guys imagine if Joe Biden had suddenly decided he was going to buy $400 million worth of electric vehicles from somebody that was closely tied to the administration? I mean, again, Tesla may be the best ones for the job. I mean, most everybody else doesn't even ever seem to be able to sell any electric vehicles. Every other company that's tried to do is like, yeah, the best we can do is hybrids. We get a few of those. So, I mean, I guess maybe it makes sense. But again, now I kind of get it though, too, because here's the thing. While I'm being honest with you about my first blush on this, I also have to be honest about the fact that this is another massive troll for the Trump administration. because the leftists are going to lose their minds over it. While they're losing their minds over this, he's going to be doing 15, 16 other things because they can't keep up anymore. I mean, look at just today. Kash Patel made it out of committee. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. got confirmed, which, according to the left, was never going to happen. They were going to stop it any way that they could. Now, Kash Patel is this close to telling the leftists, cash me outside, bitches, because I'm about to be the director of the FBI, which is going to be awesome. Because I know that the left has a big hard-on for this idea, as in they don't like it, but I actually do like it. I really hope he does close down the Hoover building and make it a museum. Ladies and gentlemen, the FBI, the CIA have undergone all of these glamorization things through Hollywood for years, for decades. The FBI has never really been the white hats that they have taught you that they were. Look at the timing for when the FBI was created. Where do you think the idea for that came from? I mean, let's just be completely honest. Where do you where do you think the idea for a police force basically controlled by the federal government came from? When you look at when the FBI was created. I mean, just being honest. Let's be real about all this stuff. It's like everybody talks about the federal highway system. Where do you think we got that idea from? Who did it first? At least in modern history, it was Hitler. You want to know half the reason we have such a huge problem with communism and fascism in this country? Because there is one. It's just not coming from where you think. Operation Paperclip. Did I mention we were going down a juxtaposition rabbit hole this hour? You guys thought I was only going to be talking about JFK. But since we are going down that juxtaposition rabbit hole, there's a story that came out this week that almost nobody's talking about. There is now evidence that supports the idea that there may have in fact been a second shooter involved in JFK's assassination. And it was found in information that was buried from the FBI. Reports and documents that were never included in the original files have now uncovered the fact that there may or may not have been a second shooter when it comes to the JFK assassination. Nobody's talking about it, though. I wonder why that is. Nobody. I think I've heard one congressman talk about it. Everybody else is like, oh my God, hair on fire. Donald Trump's going to destroy our Constitution. You know what? If we survive Joe Biden, we can survive Donald Trump. Isn't that what you guys used to tell us? We survived Donald Trump. You should be able to survive Joe Biden. You know what? I'm going to say the same thing to you then. Because we survived Joe Biden, you should be able to survive Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, if you'll get out of his way, you'll probably find your life is going to be much better. Sorry, I probably actually should have taken a day off, but I'm stubborn. All right. I have medicine coming to try to not have to cancel my date. But I don't know. Never fails. Never fails. All right. So, well, before we get into this, another little brief foray into juxtaposition territory. Donald Trump has just hinted that he's about to release all of the things about UFOs. I have long held that our government has known a lot more than they've been telling us. And I've also long held the idea that, because I get it, most people that are Christians are like, but we were made in God's image and Look, there's nothing that says he couldn't have made things in other images. Again, this to me is the same hubris that I keep accusing people with climate change of having. The idea that there's only one thing that God created is insane. Look at the variety of life on this planet alone. Look at all the things that are described as being in heaven in the book of Revelations. You're telling me he couldn't have just went out and, let's see what happens if we do this over here. I'm not saying he had to do it. I'm not even saying he would have had to have done it. But do you really think in the vastness of everything that we know, especially now that we're starting to understand quantum mechanics, do you really think we're the only ones? Now, I do admit that there are a lot of scientists who believe that the idea that there are spacefaring races that have managed to make it out of their own solar systems and even, dare I say, out of their own galaxies would be next to impossible, because once you reach that level of technology, one of two things usually happens. You typically blow yourself up and nobody ever hears from you again. But again, down the juxtaposition rabbit hole, the last time Ordnance and I actually managed to do a show, we did a show with our programming director around here, also our resident alien, about basically parallel cultures, meaning that there's societies that are here on Earth that are more advanced than us that actually are separate from us. These are theories that have been around for a long time, with the hollow Earth theories, the flat Earth theories, all of the above. All of those theories hint around the idea that outside of what we can see, there are much more advanced races here within our realm, so to speak. I have a secondary thought with that. What if it's true? But what if it's not what we think it is? And what made me think of this was I just went back and rewatched. Well, I've been watching a little bit of Primeval again. I should have said this to Amish last night, but I didn't think about it. And I just rewatched Terra Nova on the weekend that I had to take it off and do a lot of plumbing work. When I wasn't in with all that, I was watching Terra Nova. And for those of you who don't know the premise of that show, basically it's future. They travel back in time to prehistoric times because they're trying to get away from the fact that the earth is dying. So this kind of occurred to me. What if this is actually the basis for the parallel societies? What if at some point in our distant future we have uncovered time travel, and to escape the destruction of the earth, we travel back in, or they travel back in time? I say we like I'm going to be there, but still. But instead of it, because there, and the funny thing is, this has actually been theorized for a while. Star Trek, the original series, had an episode based on kind of the concept. But in this instance, they got to pick what times they wanted to travel back to specifically, and they were made to acclimate so that they couldn't affect their history. So my theory is this: what if some of maybe it even explains the flying saucers and the weird ships and everything else? What if these are in fact parallel cultures that have traveled back in time, way back to prehistoric times, and stayed separate from us? Could you imagine if that's a thing? Imagine how that would work. So you travel back in time and take at least enough of your equipment with you that you can maintain your same level of technology, and then you have hundreds of thousands of years to try to stop what caused you to have to do it in the first place. Even if that doesn't work, hundreds of thousands of years later, your parallel society that has done everything that they can to stay separate from us because you don't want to pollute the timeline and change things even worse, which is kind of this is one of the reasons why I think somebody's actually done this, because there's way too much thought that's gone into time travel. Well, you can't do that because if you change anything, it could change. Who thought of all that shit, for one? But for two, and I know I'm just kind of riffing today, but it's been a long week, and when we come back from the break, I'll get back onto the actual topics. It's not my fault, man. They set my conspiracy brain afire the other day when I saw a senator talking about a second shooter. I was like, were they on the grassy knoll? Were they on the grassy knoll? Dude, I have an entire different theory about Beckett. Yeah, we have a running theory here at KLR Radio that that's what CERN did. So CERN, when they fired up the collider, it really was them sending people back in time to fix stuff. If you haven't listened to our Mandela episodes, you need to go find them. There's a thing called the Mandela effect, and it's those episodes are on the Juxtaposition feed because there are two different histories, and everybody plainly remembers them. One was Nelson Mandela dying, still in captivity. The other was headlines and pictures and stuff showing that he was released. Around the same time that they fired up the Hadron Collider, there was a picture of a room in CERN that looked like their break room, and there was all kinds of weird stuff in there that kind of led to the idea that maybe the reason people were starting to remember disparate timelines was because of whatever they did with the collider. And it's become a thing ever since. And people are pointing out more and more things where they're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? But yeah, anyway. But as far as all of this stuff, I mean, think about it. So you have 100,000 years to try to discreetly change things enough to make sure that the earth doesn't blow up. And even if you don't manage to do it, you go back in time again. And then you wind up separating yourself from the original parallel culture. Then you have another 100,000 years to figure it out. Keeping in mind that this entire time your technology is continuing to advance. Because each time you take enough with it to maintain enough back to maintain your current level of technology and be able to move forward. Now, eventually, you're probably going to advance enough to be able to stop whatever destroyed the earth. But at the same time, if this happens enough, eventually you're not going to be able to hide it very well. And you may even get this bright idea of, well, at some point we're going to get advanced enough that there's no way they're going to be able to see us. So we're going to go hide on the moon. One of the juxtaposition episodes that we talked about was probably the real reason, as far as anybody can tell, that we've never been back to the moon and haven't even really talked about going back to the moon until now, is because even in the Apollo missions, they were talking about weird radio traffic and everything else. And the long-running theory for the longest time is two, one of which was we never actually went. I don't believe that one. Although there is a little bit of credence to it. And I may get to that on another episode, but not today. Or two, that we were told not to come back because we discovered some sort of advanced culture. Now, whether that's alien or whether that's parallel to us and they went and hid after their third or fourth iteration of trying to stop the world from blowing up, I guess we may never know. Kind of like the Tootsie Pop thing. Just saying. All right. We're going to take the break a little bit early because I got to deal with this allergy stuff. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Anyways, I hope you get this, man. Hit me back, just a chat. Truly yours, your biggest fan. This is Stan.
All right, welcome back into the Thursday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRradio.com. And if I sound different, it's because my allergies are kicking my ass. I didn't realize I was out of Benadryl till this morning. Actually, I found it out last night, and I got smart, and I was like, "Hey, I'll just have Walmart bring me some Benadryl really early in the morning." And because of the weather, they weren't doing deliveries till like starting in an hour from now. So, bastards. Anyway, so Tough Talk is one out again. This is from our friends at Town Hall. Jeff Charles, my question is this going to be enough? Because I, for one, am kind of, ready for it to be turned into a parking lot. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? My bad. Hamas reverses course on released hostages after Trump threatens to let hell break out. It appears President Donald Trump's threat against Hamas, or as I call them, Hamas, or hummus, take your pick, might have worked. The terrorist group announced on Thursday that it would free Israeli hostages on Saturday, as was originally planned in an earlier ceasefire agreement. You don't say. The announcement came after President Trump indicated he was losing his patience with Hamas and that there would be consequences if they did not adhere to the agreement. While discussing the matter with reporters on Sunday, he commented on an earlier hostage release, saying, Hamas prisoners look like the old picture of Holocaust survivors. At some point, we're going to lose our patience. When I see that scene that I saw today with people coming out of helicopters and airplanes that are emaciated, that look like they haven't had a meal in a month, no reason for that, and I don't know how much longer we can take it. The president further stated that if Hamas did not release the hostages by Saturday, he would let hell break out. So, in response to this, Hamas has, I guess, decided they were going to start releasing the hostages again. Israel also issued threats against Hamas, saying that intense fighting would resume in the Gaza Strip if the terrorist group reneged on the deal. David Mercer, a spokesperson for the Israeli government, said if the hostages were not released, the ceasefire would end and the IDF will resume intense military operations until Hamas is fully defeated, which I'm sorry, in my opinion, should still be the goal here. Just saying. The terrorist organizations previously indicated that it would indefinitely postpone the planned prisoner swaps, claiming Israel had violated the truce. Senior Hamas official Bassam Naim told NBC News on Thursday that negotiations had yielded positive signs of agreement after speaking with Egypt and Qatar. No, what happened is Egypt and Qatar reminded you that it's not fucking Joe Biden. Anyway, Israel is expected to hand over 54 Palestinian prisoners to Hamas in exchange for 3 hostages that Hamas kidnapped when it launched a surprise attack on October 7, 2023. The hostages will be handed over to the Red Cross or another neutral organization that will transport them back to Israel. If the exchange occurs without any hiccups, it could further stabilize the situation in Gaza, at least temporarily. Israel and Hamas will continue negotiations on the next stage of the agreement, which will likely involve discussions on the release of more hostages and how Gaza will be governed. I still think Trump should stick to his guns. He said no more drips and drabs. They all have to be released by Saturday. I mean, if we're planning on going in and cleaning it out anyway, I say we send in our air boys to do some softening up, and then see how many people leave on their own. I know that's not a nice thing to say. People get terrified when you can't say things like that. That's so mean. You know what? I don't care anymore. Dude, what is going on with our military? How bad were things under the Biden administration? In between the FAA bullshit, now the military. And keep in mind, again, I don't want to hear it. It's been 24 days. That is not enough time to fix all the stuff that was broken. Because now apparently, if you didn't hear about it, there was a naval crash. A Navy jet crashed just the other day. Apparently now an aircraft carrier has collided with a merchant ship. What the hell was going on? What the hell was going on with our military and our FAA under the previous administration? This is nuts. Like I said, it's almost like they were setting us up for failure. So this just dropped. So let's take a look at this. Good news is there are clips, so I'm going to let the clips do most of the topping. Hang on. Did I just say topping? I meant talking. Good Lord. Maybe I really should have taken the day off. I was actually feeling pretty good till I started trying to talk a lot. Now I'm like, I forgot my voice hates me right now, but we're doing it anyway. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
But let me focus on Uganda because my colleague from Texas raised that issue, a country that has thousands of soldiers fighting for our counterterrorism interests against al-Shabaab in Somalia. And that country was severely punished by the Biden administration for signing its anti-homosexuality law into law in May of 2023. The Biden administration revoked Uganda's AGOA eligibility, enacted visa restrictions on Ugandan individuals, and pressured the World Bank to prohibit new public financing. Despite this, U.S. aid has provided a $600,000 grant to, quote, empower Uganda's LGBT community to push back against this legislation, and a $5.4 million grant to shift public perception and attitudes in Uganda towards LGBT acceptance and to train LGBT individuals on the skills needed to engage in the economy. Now, in Uganda, China is expected to finance the $5 billion East African crude oil pipeline directly because Western leaders and the World Bank are walking away from the project because the Biden administration's response to their own domestic legislation.
So these are just some of the receipts that are being dropped at the U.S. aid hearing. Hang on, we have more. One moment, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to testify before this committee. My name is Max Primorak. I am a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. I previously served at the U.S. Agency for International...
PEPFAR saves lives! Restore AIDS funding now! 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 PEPFAR saves lives! Restore AIDS funding now!
I guess these guys don't watch the news. They didn't realize that PEPFAR was one of the many programs that did prove to be life-saving, so the funding was restored. Somebody better give them a link to, I don't know, maybe Fox News or something like that. You may resume your opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, I previously served as...
All right, so I wanted to play that one because that specifically is something that has been going around, that PEPFAR was something that was cut by the Trump administration, and actually it was not. So here's another interesting little clip. Let's watch this together. How long is this, though? Oh, wow. No, this is Brett. This is old. This is long, so we're not going to play this whole thing. I didn't realize that was the whole thing, but never mind. We're
Committee on Foreign Affairs
go
will
back
come to order. I ask that everybody in the room, regardless of your position, please rise, join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, actually, you know what? It's the pledge. We're going to let that play.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. I can't take my hat off, though. I was going to turn my camera on, but yeah. I was like, I can't take my hat off right now, though, because I have headphones on. All right, anyway. So, yes, it was weird. I let the pledge play. I didn't realize that was going to be like the entire hearing. So we're going to go back over to this one because there's more receipts. So according to the Congressional Committee's findings, and let me get back to main screen here because I realize I'm still not. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Because, yeah, since we're talking about what's going on right there, let's do this. That way you guys can kind of see kind of a still shot of the room while we're talking about it. Haha. Awesome. Just kidding. Not really. I don't know. According to Congressional Committee's findings, USAID spent $11.75 million on measuring the effectiveness of DI promotion efforts in Nepal, complete with an award ID number, AID 367C15000001, $750,000 on Princeton University's DEI survey in the Middle East, again, complete with an award ID number. $859,000 on hiring a DEI specialist at USAID's headquarters in Washington, D.C., $23,000 on hosting DEI recruitment seminars in San Martin, Iquitos, and Lima, Peru, $558,000 on emergency DEI support, $1 million on hiring an LGBT advisor for USAID's U.S. Personnel Services Contractor Program, $15,500 on a DEI staff retreat in Nigeria, $100,000 to conduct a DEI survey in Ghana, $500,000 on the establishment of DEI fellowship in Uzbekistan, $30,280 on a DEIA facilitated conversions in Senegal, $23,300 on purchasing promotional materials for an upcoming DEI retreat. Among other expenses, USAID used $5.5 million to improve the lives of alphabet Nazi individuals in Uganda. $37.67 million for providing services to prostitutes, their clients, and transgender identifying people. $65.7 million on vasectomies in the Congo. $6 million on the social inclusion of LGBTQ plus people in countries around the world. $4.3 million to provide services for men who have sex with other men in South Africa. Dude, $20 is $20. No, not really. Sorry. $14.9 million to enhance leadership of LGBT leaders in Cambodia. $3.5 million for empowering LGBT Colombians to take part in the political process. $1.3 million to create a comfortable environment for LGBTQ people in North Macedonia. $3.9 million to strengthen equality and democracy for the LGBTQ plus population in the Western Balkans. $18,800 to help LGBT individuals vote in the 2021 Honduras elections. $108,700 on strategic approaches for advancing LGBT rights in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Good Lord. $1.1 million empowering the LGBT community in America, and I'm sorry, in Armenia. $595,000 to empower Uganda's LGBT community to push back against anti-LGBT legislation. USAID also funded circumcisions across the globe through a flurry of projects with, good Lord, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 20 times 4 minus 1, 79 separate funding IDs for circumcisions around the globe. Doesn't even give a dollar amount. It just says that they have USAID also funded circumcision across the globe using a flurry of projects, and then list the individual award IDs, and there's 79 of them. This is insane. So during the congressional proceedings Thursday, Minority Member Rep. Bill Keating cracked a circumcision joke when he argued against these draconian changes to USAID's multi-billion-dollar budget. You know what? Hang on. Making sure you guys could see it because I realized I didn't have it.
And do it the right way. All those things you do, all the little small cuts. I won't say anything about circumcisions being a small cut. Listen, all these small cuts.
Actually, you pretty much did just mention that circumcisions were small cuts. Just throwing that out there. But that's all they have right now. So via press release, Majority Member Rep. Mike Lawler, Republican, New York, that's got to be an endangered species. He revealed that since 2022, USAID made payments to an organization led by an anti-Israel rapper who has written, produced, and performed several anti-Semitic songs in which he called Israelis cannibals and animals, as well as compared Gaza to Auschwitz. According to LinkedIn, American-born rapper Raful Sadie is the executive director of a Palestinian NGO called Tomorrow's Youth Organization, which received $3.3 million in funds from USAID for Middle East Partnership for Peace, otherwise known as MEPA, affiliated programs that trains female entrepreneurs per grant records. Lava, citing 3 of his songs, Scars for Gaza, From the Ghetto, and Tears Over Palestine, said Sadie advocates for Jew hatred in his music. Said these songs, Scars of Gaza, contain the lyrics Auschwitz reincarnated, brought back to life by the victims who were burned by the Nazis. A music video of that song in Sadie's now deleted Facebook page ended with a call for violence. In Tears Over Palestine, Sadie rapped, "Imagine Arabic Anne Frank writing her journal. Imagine Arab babies getting tossed in infernos. The Holocaust of Palestine. What a vicious circle." We need to get to the bottom of why the Biden administration was funding Jew hatred. So all of a sudden, there seems to be a change of heart going on with that as well. This is the very rep we were just talking about, on with Joe Scarborough, who LARPs is a Republican.
Let's start first, though, with USAID. We were just talking about it. I support PEPFAR. I support these programs because they save so many lives. But I also support it strategically as an old Cold War conservative. I understand that boots on the ground are important, but also humanitarian aid is important. It's also important what intel we pick up, whether it's from the Ivory Coast or Sudan or other parts of Africa and other continents. I'm curious what your thought is on how USAID should be approached.
Well, Joe, we're actually going to have a hearing tomorrow on USAID in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and a lot of these issues will be discussed. When you look at a program like PEPFAR, I have been very strong in my support for it. 60% of PEPFAR's program is administered by USAID. Secretary Rubio did grant a waiver for life-saving programs like PEPFAR, which obviously is critical on the continent of Africa, saving tens of millions of lives over the last 2 decades. Probably one of the best soft power accomplishments of the United States foreign aid program ever. But then you look at some of the expenditures by USAID. For instance, I uncovered over $3 million to a rap artist in Gaza producing anti-Israel, anti-Semitic songs. Is that the best use of American taxpayer dollars? I would venture not. And so one of the things that we're going to do in this hearing tomorrow, obviously, is go through what actually is the role of USAID, what should they be focused on, and frankly, what have they been focused on. And I think one of the things to keep in mind, Joe, in other parts of the world, some of the woke ideology that USAID was promoting is not welcomed by the people or the governments, and it actually can be counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish. Right. So I think one of the things we need to recognize.
That's what you guys do, though. Like, that's what you go through in subcommittees. It's not like some radical Berkeley professor said, "Hey, let's give $3 billion to a rap artist in Gaza who's going to do anti-American and anti-Israel."
No, the Biden administration did. That's part of the problem here.
But you have Congress, though, who funds USAID. So shouldn't you all be making these calls instead of Elon Musk?
But Joe, one thing I will tell you, and you as a former member of Congress certainly understand this, in the separation of powers, sometimes when you're asking for information, the executive branch doesn't want to share it. We had numerous hearings last Congress. We sent numerous letters to Samantha Power, to USAID, requesting more information. And for obvious reasons, they didn't want to provide it. What you've seen in the last few weeks, frankly, while some people may object, you certainly understand, Joe, oftentimes government moves at a glacial pace. And so, yes, we have seen things move very rapidly, but oftentimes when you're making an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. And I do think that, unfortunately, is necessary as we're actually trying to uncover what these agencies and departments are doing, what they're spending money on, and is it in keeping with the United States mission? There's no question humanitarian aid, soft power is critical to our foreign policy. And when it comes to issues like PEPFAR, when it comes to issues like feeding the hungry, yes, that is a primary mission. Yeah. But that's not exactly what USAID has been focused on.
Well, I mean, there are programs that, as you said, have not been the sort of programs that I think most Americans would support. We both agree on that. I will say, though, the pace they have moved at has been so rapid, they don't know what eggs they're breaking. And we don't know what the consequences are going to be, 1, 2, 4, 5 years from now. I'm glad you guys are having a hearing on this. I certainly hope because I think we can all agree that bureaucracy needs to be reformed. It can be trimmed. It can be made more effective. It can be updated. But it needs to, I would think you would agree, it needs to be transparent. I would feel very comfortable with subcommittees and committees in Congress going through each one of these line items. Well, this doesn't make sense. Let's vote on it. Put it on the record.
And Joe, by the way, that's what we're doing. If you look at the way Brian Mast, our new chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, has structured it, we are looking to do a State Department reauth, the first time in over 20 years. I have jurisdiction over M branch and 2 parts of P branch. And we are going to be going line by line, department by department within the State Department to determine how they are spending their money, what programs are working, what is not. That is the function of Congress. That is the way we should be doing this. It hasn't been done in 20 years. That is what we are getting about the work of doing. Tomorrow is a first step in that process.
All right, so he tried really hard to do lifting for the other side, which is one of Scarborough's trademarks. But there wasn't much he could do because they're starting to show us the receipts. Again, this spans most administrations. And I know Stacey disagreed with me last night, but I still firmly believe that USAID may have been one of the groups involved in making sure that Kennedy got disappeared. Or deleted, as the kids say now. Because, you can't say the other word that you get pulled off streams. But I say all of this to you because there's more and more and more of all of this that's just happening everywhere. And it's just insane. So, yeah, I think I figured out another reason why everybody involved in the administrative state is terrified of Kash Patel becoming the new director of FBI, because there's a new question that's now being floated from our friends over at The Blaze. Did the FBI actually help Venezuelan gangs evade ICE? The answer to that question appears to be possibly, allegedly, yes. Just as border czar Tom Homan has begun rounding up illegal immigrants to send them back to their home countries, the details for upcoming ICE raids have been leaked to the press, most recently to the LA Times. The latest leak from the LA Times said that the federal law enforcement agents are planning to carry out a large-scale immigration enforcement action in the Los Angeles area before the end of February. Sarah Gonzalez of Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered says, noting that this was according to an internal government document reviewed by the Times. Essentially, the leak has warned the immigrants that a raid would take place. So let's rewind a minute. Everybody remember those Denver raids and how those were compromised? So ICE was targeting the arrest of over 100 members of course, the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which, remember, up until 5 minutes ago didn't exist, wasn't a problem, and weren't taking over apartment complexes. And even if they were, it was just a couple. So their operation yielded the arrest of just one alleged gang member. Well, how'd that happen? Shouldn't we all be in on removing violent gang members from our country? I mean, shouldn't that be something that maybe even the mainstream media like the LA Times and the Denver, I mean, what the hell is the name of their paper again? Denver Post, I think. I think. But continuing the discussion here, Chicago has also seen a compromised ICE raid where ICE positioned 100 agents at the targeted positions, but made only 2 arrests. Now, Secretary of HHS, I'm sorry, is that the Secretary of Homeland Security? I think HHS is the other one. Kristi Noem believes that the leaks are coming from inside the House. She believes they're actually coming from the federal government. The FBI is so corrupt, we will work with any and every agency to stop leaks and prosecute these crooked deep state agents to the fullest extent of the law. Noem wrote in a post on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Noem isn't alone in her belief, as Borders Czar Tom Homan also suspects it's going on within the U.S. government walls. We think it's coming from inside, and we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we've received tends to lead towards the FBI, Homan said during an interview on Fox. But I talked to the Deputy Attorney General all this weekend. They've opened up a criminal investigation, and they have promised that not only will this person lose her job, so they already know who it is, but and lose her pension, they're going to go to jail. They're going to criminally prosecute. So we're all over it. Holman continued. All right. So again, just as a reminder, we have a mandate from the American people screaming that we need to do something about our election. That comes next. But our immigration problems, and now we have people within our own government fighting to stop it. You guys understand what we're dealing with here? I don't think anybody really understands what we're dealing with here. All right, folks, I was trying to do 3 hours. I barely made it 2. I think we're going to pull the plug for the day. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. I have some more medicine coming, which should help with the allergy side of things, because I've been taking cold medicine and stuff because we had it in the house, and that ain't working. So that's why I know it ain't the usual thing. I've got some Benadryl and some allergy-related products coming in the next hour or so. So we should be able to be back to full strength by tomorrow. But I don't feel like coughing through another hour, and I don't feel like putting you guys through that either. So we're going to pull the plug a little bit early. Again, make sure you come back tonight for KLR radio lineup. We should have Disasters in the Making with Brad with the Good Hair and Movie Paul. And then after that, Jen and Rick. However, I'll be off. So if this stuff gets pulled off, it'll be produced by Jeff, which means it'll be Jen and Alien. I don't know. Maybe I can convince. Anyway, I'm just teasing. All right. I'm getting out of here, folks. I love you all, and we'll try to be back to 3 hours tomorrow once I can get some allergy medicine in my system, because I didn't know I was out, and I don't normally need it this time of year. But Mother Nature's been a bipolar whore. Bye, everybody.
Come take my we'll walk this road together through the storm.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world. This isn't over until I say it's over! Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
Closing time. Time for you to go out to the places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.